to meet it a little earlier, and if I have to go to the net to win points, I'll do so.
Arantxa just going up for a look, but it was okay. Here are 3 set points for Steffi Graf. A set of the highest caliber from Steffi Graf, perhaps the best she's played this year, and she's taken it 6-3. The Steffi contingent must be very happy indeed with the way she started. And Arantxa has just got to forget it. She's played very well, just remember that. Can Steffi continue form of this nature? Extraordinary play to start the second set.
Well, they ought to encapsulate this rally and put it in a little box and deposit it on Mars, because that was some rally. They were both just hitting the ball at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And look at Sanchez off court and Graf still going for it.
When an attacking player is playing as well as this, there's nothing a defensive player can do, really. Arantxa can try and change a game marginally in percentage points, but if Steffi continues this level, it's game over.
The chances are, of course, it's just a matter of how long she can do it, and Graf is so great, she can probably do it all the way. But as I say, I've seen it before where she's lost her game and lost her great form. Sanchez could, as she showed on the second point there, a little bit of frustration coming in right away, but coming in on a slice to Graf is not going to do a lot unless she feels a lot of pressure, Graf. The other method, of course, is to slow ball her, as she certainly did against Hapsidova in that long match. So much so that, in fact, she got jeered a little bit by the crowd.
A second double fault, and here are 2 break points for Steffi to reinforce that first set. Well played. Just a little extra and a little extra length did the trick.
27th Grand Slam final. What a record. Of course, Chris Evert was in 34. Some ways to go to that.
Super point. An important one for Arantxa. 2 break points saved now.
And the court tilted a little bit like the Graf slice backhand. It was really a good demonstration of how well to play the slice backhand. And of course it throws variations of spins and speeds at the opponent, with a flat or rolled forehand coming at Sanchez as well.
Yes. Wonderful point again. Excellent retrieving and turning it into attack. Warm applause for Arantxa. Still heads up for her, and she leads 1-love in the second set. A wonderful final. First set to Steffi Graf, 6-3, but Arantxa Sanchez Vicario just showing Steffi that last game she's still very much in this match. Love 1, second set.
Well, she might have lost the point, but I think she demonstrated there that she can get away really with hitting very deep to the Graf forehand, because it's very difficult for Graf to react quite as strongly as she does when the ball is hit deep and hard.
I think Arantxa thought the serve was going out and was surprised when it didn't. Looked to me like it was all right. Just a misjudgment.
Yes, because she's so competitive that there's no doubt if anything is close. Unlike Graf, who doesn't question too much, Sanchez will question almost anything. But I guess when you're diminutive, you've got to learn to stand up for yourself.
Yes, what's that ad she had? Her ambition is to go on the family court and beat her brother Emilio to a pulp.
Really? And knowing Emilio, he'd probably just sit back and take it. But a love game to Graf to counter the super play from the Spaniard in the previous game. Yes, 2 successive love games, and I remember a quote of Graf's one thinking about love and boys. She says, well, some of the other girls think nothing but boys, boys, boys. She thinks nothing but tennis, tennis, tennis.
Steffi's boyfriend, Miguel Bartels, still very much with her, but not here today. He's not visibly here. He's probably motor racing somewhere. It's a fairly brisk shot from Arantxa.
Yes, pity we couldn't see her feet because they were both off the ground.
This is a revelation, this kind of form from Arantxa, because so often in the past she said she's going to be aggressive. She's always been competitive, but not played aggressively. But this is aggressive, attacking play.
Well, she's going to have to do something, and she's doing it. She's rising. I knew that Graf would bring the better out in her.
It's not just centre court play today.
Saw the German flag earlier, of course, with Stich in tomorrow's men's final.
Commitment there from Steffi.
Yeah, she could have played that high backhand, but she just thought it was going out, and she ran alongside it here. She could have played it thinking it was going out, but then this is a shot she'd be thrilled with because she hit over the ball, and this was more of a formality. The backhand she'll remember.
So a problem game again for Arantxa, one that she looked to be winning with ease. 40-30, second serve, and a double fault. Very close. Steffi's seen the mark, or has she? Disagreement there. Steffi, though, she walked away, said that's good, and I think I think it was lost in the translation. I think Steffi meant to say the mark was good, but actually the ball was good. It was off the end of the line, but may well have got some of the line.
Yes, it certainly sounded in, didn't it?
Solid stuff from Arantxa Sanchez Vicario. A totally absorbing match, and she leads the second set 2-1. She trails by a set, though.
Open.
Steffi serving at 56%, Arantxa at 73%. Steffi's when it goes in, though, through a more meaningful serve, generally.
Yes, certainly more powerful. Usually about 15 kilometers an hour speedier than Sanchez's. Graf had won 12 successive points in her serve prior to that.
The ball kids who've served so well over the last fortnight, watching from a prime viewpoint.
Yes, I think there are about 140, 150 ball children who start the fortnight.
Steffi just checking. It did look just wide. She's checking everything at the moment.
Well, that was one of the few non-percentage shots tried by Sanchez, because that was a deep one, and trying for the shot down the line, of course, the highest part of the net, and hitting it very flat.
Skies are getting rapidly grayer. There was a burst of rain during the last change round, which is now over, but it's not looking too promising. Oh, what a shot! I was going to say how good the volley was from Steffi. It wasn't bad.
Wasn't a bad volley, but what Sanchez did well was anticipate this cross-court backhand volley. She was moving there, and here it comes now. Look at her, she's on the way before Graf hits it, and she learned from the previous one that I said was a non-percentage shot, really staying with the backhand.
Break point then for Arantxa. She's out, and look at that reaction. That's what she's been working towards, and now she's got it.
Well, she was relying on her stickability. She was relying on her retrieving power. She played the waiting game. She knew the Graf would take chances. She wasn't prepared to, and she was prepared really to let Graf in the end make the error, and she obliged.
Interesting that she should get the break playing more defensively there.
Because of the pressure of the situation, of course. She knew that it being a more pressureful point, she could afford. Most of the pressure was on Graf. She had the break point. Graf, she knew, would go for it, and would her nerve just stand up under that sort of test? Clever play.
No sense of overconfidence now from Graf. The question is she getting rattled? No, she couldn't carry on doing them. Two extraordinary gets on the forehand.
Just a stunning point from Graf, because you can only do so much retrieving. It's more of a grimace than a smile.
I tell you what, Fru, I'm praying it doesn't rain, because it couldn't get any better than this. And if they did go in and come out, there's no guarantee it could be anywhere near this standard.
It would certainly dampen the party, there's no doubt about it. I was just wondering earlier whether Sanchez might not like a bit of rain, just to slow things down a bit. I think she'd say no. She's come back, she's done it from this position before, she's into it, she doesn't want to start a nervous match all over again.
Graf just beginning to make the odd error.
Yes, she certainly played a more tentative point there. And I would imagine in these points, really, I'm surprised that Sanchez is not playing a mixture of more aggression and more sort of defensive play. When she's level, I expect her to be just as she was there, a little bit more defensive, so that she can't then, because it's not such a big point, give Graf the ability to become attacking first.
Yes, get your retaliation in first. 40-30.
Graf, incidentally, started playing this game when she was 3, of course, with a sawn-down racket. And her father used to set up a string between two settees. And if she hit the ball over 20 times in a row, she'd be given an ice cream. I think Sanchez was a slightly later starter, around about 6. But there's no doubt all the kids that are watching, a good time to start. The younger almost the better.
Ruthless play. And again, she came over the top on the backhand with some force and some effect.
Yes, that started it for her, because she had Sanchez on the stretch for the first volley. Thereafter, providing she kept her nerve and providing she could hit wide, and Sanchez, of course, is easier to hit wide of than most because she's that much shorter, Graf would have it more of her own way.
Break point for Steffi. She broke Arantxa immediately after Arantxa had broken her in the first set. Well, it's been a long game, but 3 unforced errors from Steffi in this game. There you can see the wind still pretty breezy, but no rain at the moment. She lost the point, but how on earth does she keep getting them back? It is staggering.
Well, it makes for a phenomenal spectacle because you've got somebody who's able to get back every beautiful shot that Graf plays, and then when of course Graf has to do something other than play a ground stroke like the smash, it just means that the game, the whole sight here is so much more rounded.
It's tennis to make you smile. Second break point. It's been a mediocre women's tournament. Hasn't been a great match, I don't think, all the way through. Of course, we haven't seen all the matches on all the outside courts, but on the show courts, hasn't been too much to really get excited about. And then this. Arantxa pretty commanding with her sign, but there's a few whistles. And Anasea saying no, it was good. Obviously a mark off the line. The question is, was there any gap between ball and line?
Yes, I must admit, I thought it was out.
It certainly looks it from there. It does look it from there. Maybe it got a fraction of a line, but didn't really look it on replay.
Well, of course, it's almost embarrassing to have it done, but Sanchez will be quite used to that because, as I pointed out, she's quick to point to marks. But when you're so adamant that the ball's in and the umpire gives it against you,
if he can't quite finish it off, that's the third break point that's gone against her.
No, and it's a prime time really with Sanchez obviously irritated, although as I said she can get out of that sort of mood fairly quickly, but a prime time for Graf just to keep the ball going as long as she can.
Fourth break point.
Well, she keeps looking up to her family for support, of course, but really Graf's racket's so tightly strung, she can hit the ball virtually as hard as she possibly can, and yet she still seems to keep it in.
Yeah. Couldn't get the depth that time. And Steffi claws her way back to get the break. Trails 2-3.
Sanchez Vicario mène pas.
Tennis to make you smile and to stir the blood here. Good partisan support for both ladies and plenty of noise all around. 16,000 people having a great time, as it should be. Steffi, 2-3. She's a set up. There have been 2 successive breaks of serve. To clarify what we said earlier about there not being a great women's match, there have been great performances. Steffi's put in 2, and there has been close match on a feature court, Arantxa against Habsdova, but the tennis there wasn't that brilliant. But this is exhilarating.
No, I think that's a very fair comment. I'm the first to extol the virtues of the ladies' game, particularly from quarterfinals onwards. Normally there's some terrific matches. Hasn't been the case, of course, partly because Graf's been rolling so. And had she played just less well against Martinez, we may well have seen a match there. She didn't. She's been too good.
Just Steffi struggling on her serve again. Played. Again, blitz from side to side, Arantxa, but eventually she comes up with an attacking shot that matters.
And look how quickly she was onto it too. As soon as Graf had hit this one, her footwork took her there so quickly, she was almost there with time to volley it.
3 break points for a 3rd successive break of serve. It's out, change of mind, but it looked like the right one. Given in initially. And Steffi really patted that, didn't she? There wasn't the authority there.
Sanchez Vicario mène par 4 jeux à 2.
Well, of course, it's phenomenal play by Sanchez. She's got to do it now, otherwise she's out of it. But how much is it taking out of her? Well, rather be in this situation at least and go into a 3rd set, hopefully in the end, and just test your spirit and test your stamina. Graf's nerves will undo her partly too.
Yes, this is so similar to the 2nd set last year, which was phenomenal. And Arantxa won it, and then didn't win another game.
Yes, because she has the ability, Sanchez, to, and has done it, to give Graf a few love sets. She's beaten her a few times, 6-love. It's almost as if both of them have got to take a bit of a breather in this game. Not surprising.
Yes, it's a frightening pace. 1 hour and 11 minutes so far. No.
15-40.
Steffi, the most popular lady in the women's game, but I wouldn't mind taking a straw poll now. I think most people would like Arantxa to win this set. She deserves it, and it would take us into a third set. I mean, the match would last long.
Yes, I think there are two reasons for it, of course. It wouldn't take away from her popularity graph, because they'd see more of her.
2 break points. That was a really hurtful rally for Arantxa, and she walked slowly back to her chair. That was exhausting. Steffi back level on breaks. So we've had 4 successive breaks of serve. Graf at 3-4. She's a set up. Too good. Cheeky little smile even from Steffi, and Arantxa looks at her to say, where did you get volleying like that from?
Yes, quite. You're not the one who plays a lot of doubles. I'm supposed to be the one, and yet you are playing this one as efficiently as Stich. Because Sanchez did nothing wrong, and Graf played the volleys as well as I've seen her. What she did so well there was get close to the net. She blanketed it. Normally she hangs back just a little bit. Well, it's almost as if Graf has got some signals to do a bit more volleying. And Sanchez lapping it up as she screws the forehand past her. One of those shots that doesn't land in, or doesn't look as if it's going to go in until the very last minute. Most of its journey going along the tram lines.
Just out, but Arantxa gave it a despairing look almost as it went, as if she thought it was going to go in, and she was beginning to take a lot of punishment. She's still there, but physically, how much has she got left? Two break points for a 5th successive break. Henri, one of the great entertainers of French tennis.
Yes, and he may have done something like this. She's actually encouraging it to go out.
And you could hear the collective sigh. That tells you how much the crowd want Arantxa to take this set.
Amazing how quick Graf is in between points, even after a long, what should be breathless rally.
And that may also not just be rhythm, but anxious to put the pressure on Arantxa physically. Muster-like. Leon Tiriac, a doubtable fighter in his time, watching Arantxa, the best fighter in the women's game. but she's missed 2 break points here, which may turn out to be very, very important.
Well, she's been hitting the inside out forehand, the one where she runs around and plays it back wide to Sanchez's backhand so well. Sanchez expecting yet another one on this one, and consequently Sanchez is moving more to her left.
Point for 4-all. Just long, and Arantxa looks down at her baseline. Must have been just on the line. Really tough luck. And Steffi is back level and is playing once again phenomenal tennis.
Yes, her strength doesn't seem to waver at all. One will expect competitors like this to have enormous will. Fortunately, it's not as blistering hot as it has been.
But Arantxa is having to work so hard in every rally. It must take its toll. A merciful cheap point.
As you were saying, it's like an oasis suddenly, because it's the exact moment really that Graf would like to be getting everything back and stretching her all the more.
And that was a strange shot. And here are 3 points for 5-4 for Arantxa. Super.
Well, how about this for a bit of variation? Terrific volley from Sanchez, because it was such a difficult one to get to. And the last thing she might have expected, she was that close, was the roll lob. Brilliantly executed, because it fell in very short.
At last, the sequence of drop service games comes to an end. It's 5-4 Arantxa. Steffi Graf, who struggled with her serve in this set, twice broken, now at 4-5, serving to stay in the set.
Of course, you don't see that many aces on a clay court, but Graf, well, there hasn't been one in the match.
No. Steffi's not playing well at the moment. Any reason for that? Is that just pressure?
Well, we were looking at Sanchez so hard, really, that perhaps we forgot that Graf was really giving it her all. And maybe it just took a bit out of her. I don't think physically, but a bit mentally.
Yep.
Just resisting.